Everyone, today we are going to install a NavPod21. I've searched everywhere on the internet for videos for this. There doesn't seem to be one, so hopefully this can help everybody out. We're going to install it on a 2023 KTM 1290 Super Adventure. This is an S model, but it does fit both the S and the R. We'll include an unboxing, and I'm also going to talk about some of the 3D printed alternatives that is currently installed on the bike right now, and the reason why we need to change that one out. It's actually in a smaller box than I thought it would be, because when you see the pictures online, it really looks like quite a bulky piece of kit. So there's nothing really in here except for the card, which is also where you can purchase it, and it's got the invoice for me. Okay, so let's take a look at it. This is the Carpe Iter edition. From what I understand, it's just slightly bigger, so you can put a larger size tablet on. I'm going to be installing a Garmin Xumo XT2 with my application. So you don't actually need the large one for the XT2, from what I understand, but it was the same price, and apparently it's just slightly bigger, so I figured let's just go for it. Okay, so that's everything. I'm assuming all this, yeah, it'll all bend up, because obviously this piece here is going to replace the TFT backing for the KTM OEM dash, and then this bracket will be the one that you can adjust and mount the Garmin Xumo XT2 onto. Okay, so that's everything. Okay. As you can see, my existing setup, I already have a 3D mounted display. It is made by a company called Macom. I believe they're out of Slovenia, and it was a really nice piece of kit. We'll go over it in a bit once I get it off, and I'll explain to you why we need to change it out. But I do like how it positions. I'm hoping with the new one we can get it something similar, but this is a big problem for me. As you can see how loose everything is with the existing one, so I'm hoping that the NavPod21 is going to clean that all up. I would think it's almost impossible for me to ride off-road right now, given how wobbly this is. Okay, so the first thing we need to do, which is super simple, is just get the OEM windshield off. They are Torx, but a little trick, if you do have just basic Allen keys, I believe it's a 5mm, will actually fit in there and work just the same, so you don't have to jump back and forth to your Torx screws. This is super easy, it's just 4 screws. Okay, now that we have the windshield off, this next section right here, it's very easy. There's actually no screws holding it in. You just kind of wiggle it until it pops out. There we go. And you can see that's the brand that I currently have installed. Again, I want to like it. It's really slick. It's really thick plastic. It's well engineered, but it just doesn't stop the vibrations. And as you'll see in a few minutes, those vibrations over an extended period of time cause quite a bit of damage. The next thing we need to do is remove these 2 side plates. They're really easy. There's just 2 bolts in here. Again, they're Torx, but you can use an Allen key. It's the exact same size as the windshield bolts. So we'll take these out next. What you need to do, just kind of give it a little shake. and it'll pop right out. And I'm in a cold climate here. It's probably about 10 degrees Celsius today, and these popped out no problem. I'd be a bit careful if you were doing it in any colder weather than this though, because there's a few tabs on here, as you can see. You would hate to break one of those off by accident. Okay, now that those are the two side panels in the center are off, it gets a little bit easier to work with everything. The next two bolts we need to take out are right here on this side, and same spot on this side. And you'll need a 4mm Allen key or the proper Torx bit. I think I've been saying 5mm, but it's actually a 4. I realized it was printed on the tool after I said that. I've already taken the left side out here, so I'm just going to pull this out. You can see a bit of thread. That's from some blue Loctite that I'd placed in this hole previously. Once this pops out, I just need to be a bit careful because you can see everything's going to start to collapse. So there's one more step. I will try to get the camera in down here and show you how to take out the center portion. The bolt's way back in this slot, and it's actually only on the left-hand side of the bike, or the clutch side of the bike, if that's easier. And the reason why I say that, there's actually just a spacer on the other side that holds this bolt in. Now you're going to have to be careful once this is out, because this is your TFT mount, as well as, in my case, the Macom mount. So both the Garmin and the screen are going to want to fall off as soon as this is out. So one good trick that I've discovered for this, especially if you're using the center stand like I am right now, when you loosen this bolt, it doesn't want to fall out. On the other side where the captive spacer is, there's a small hole in the middle. Take something like this, a very narrow tool. In this case, I'm using a 2mm Allen, and I can just slide it through, and it will push that bolt right out, even on the center stand. And if I've done it properly, there we go. So give me the same thing from the other side, except don't use the small tool that you used going the other way. You need to use something a little bit larger so you can hook it on the spacer. There we go. I got it with the same 4mm that we've been using all video. So that's it. It's going to come right out if you've lined it up properly. And now everything, as you see, is going to want to come forward. I can even lift it right off. I'm not going to because it's plugged in. Alright, so I'm just going to talk for a minute about why I'm having to do this upgrade in the first place. There's a real design flaw when it comes to these 3D printed items. I'm going to try to zero in here so you can see it. The top mount here on both sides is not fixed. It's free floating. I'm sure it's for a reason, but it doesn't work because the bottom mounts are fully fixed. And so every time these go back and forth, which is every single bump, every pothole, heaven forbid anything off-road, which I haven't even done yet with this, the plastic cracks more and more and more. Obviously I've taken this apart once in the past because I noticed this getting worse and worse, and I covered it with duct tape. This side's almost completely broken off, so it's just not a viable product for anything more than a perfectly paved road. Okay, the last step is very easy. You just need to disconnect the wiring harness from the TFT dash. Super simple. There's a big thick button here. You just push down on that and pull. Mine should, yeah, it came out really easy because I've taken this apart previously when I installed the Macom mount. The one thing you need to be careful of, if you've already got a GPS installed, it's going to have wiring. So I'm just going to have to work around that in my case. The next thing we're going to have to do is remove the 4 existing screws that came with the 3D mount, and then we can start fresh with the NavPod21. Okay, we are now ready to install the NavPod. It comes pre-assembled like this. There's a little bit we have to do to get it to fit in here, which I'll show you in a second. And after it's all done, essentially it'll look something like that, and then the original dash will go back on here. But the first thing, we need to take this off. So we just need to unscrew this, pull these spacers out, and it's going to actually slide right in here, which replaces the OEM piece. So we'll start with that. Not build anything yet, but one thing the instruction manual does say to do, and I would recommend it, is to just loosen everything off. The reason for that, it comes pre-assembled. When I tried to just sort of rough it in, this back section was so tight I couldn't get it to fit around here, which is a primary mounting point. So take a couple minutes, do that. It takes less than 5 minutes. It's going to make your life easy. And it seems to be very well engineered. It just sort of sits on. Now the instruction says to start with this piece down here. I'm not going to do that. I was playing around with it here, and I think it's easier to get one of the mount bolts in here first. And then this will hold it in place. So I'm just going to put it in very loose. I'm just reusing the original OEM bolt that we took out earlier. There we go. I just want it in there enough that now I can play around with it without worrying about this thing falling off on me. And then we'll install the lower bracket here next. Okay, I found the best thing to do in this section is just follow the instructions, because once you sit the NavPod on here, it's way too hard to get your hand in and get this middle spacer. So pull all that off, get the spacers in on this side, in the middle. It doesn't really matter over here because you can, there's lots of room, so you can just slide it in afterwards. But that's the initial setup that you need to get to. Alright, so now that you have all the spacers lined up from the previous step, I found it was actually convenient to unsnap this, because it's a very tight fit, and it gives you just that little extra room, extra millimeter or two to work around. And then you just need to get this into position, and it should slide through. You won't be able to see it in the video, but this has gone through on this side. So I'm going to tighten it up, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, that was the hardest part. So now that that's through, you just put the nut and the lock washer on it, torque it down, and then take the original 2 bolts that we took out here and here, put those back in. Well, everything's loose, it should fit in no problem. And then take a few minutes and re-tighten every single bolt that we loosened at the start of the video. And now the only thing I didn't tighten was this, because I need to figure out what the optimal position is for my XT2 once I get it back together. I pulled this back through. It was actually a little bit tricky, so you may not want to push it all the way in at the start of the video. The only thing left to do now is reinstall the TFT display, and then we'll fine tune this to fit my my Garmin. The first step for the display is just to reconnect the plug, which is super easy. I'm just going to push until it snaps back into place. You'll hear it. It's pretty loud sound. And now You just have to be careful because it's free floating. I'm gonna grab the screw that I'm using. Now I did put some Loctite on this just because it's a fairly small screw and I don't really want to be taking this off, but I've just used the blue in case I do need to. So this will take a little while just from the angle, but I'm just going to replace, I'm just going to reuse all the original 4 OEM bolts to bolt this in. You can't make a mistake here. The 4 holes line up perfectly to the bolt pattern. So just go ahead and install that, and then we'll deal with the Garmin next. So I'm just going to throw these 4 bolts on, and then we'll put it into final position. For the next step, I just reattach my Garmin power source. There's a lot of videos you can find online for how to actually install these directly wired into the bike, which is what we have here. I won't go into that. It's a real pain, to be honest. It takes a while. And I'm going to reattach this. I also have the Maycom visor, which is a really nice product. And as you can see, we need to get it dialed in, so I'm gonna have to fidget around with these bolts, loosen these off, move it up and down to my preference, and same with here. Everything's been pre-installed, but there's a lot of adjustability. So I'm going to spend some time and get these into the right place and get this exactly where I would prefer it for my riding. The last step for the adjustability, there's a small package that came with it. It's got 2 of these in it. Taken one out and fished it through right here. I'm just going to loosely put it on. This is highly adjustable up here. All of these bolts come out. There's many rails. It's a very well engineered product. So I'm going to set this up, get this at the perfect angle, and then tighten everything back down. The last big piece of adjustability is right here. So there's a rail system in here, but there's also a separate mounting hole. So I'm going to take these out and just see what it looks like. So there's a rail behind there that these bolts tighten into, and there's a lot of adjustability I can see here. So I'm going to pull them off both sides and see if I can get this in the right position. Alright, after a bit of time fiddling around and getting this into the exact ergonomic spot for my size, I'm a pretty tall guy, about 6'2", so this is where I think it's going to work out. So hopefully this was helpful for everyone. All you have to do now is put everything back on that you took off and go ride and try it out. I'm going to go ride the Pennsylvania BDRX next week, and that should really test this out. If it's gonna crack or fail, which I don't think it can, it's very well engineered, but I can do an update if I have any issues with it. Thanks for watching.